Our hangout is live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bibliomancy for Beginners. We are usually 4 college friends, currently 3 college friends who like to read books and talk about them. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Gretchen.
Hello there, I am Gretchen, the one without the lower third, because I turned it on and then it turned itself off,
Oh no.
weirdly enough. So there it is. Alright, my life is in so much disarray right now, I don't know which way is up and which way is down. In 8 days, I leave to go to London for the semester, and I'm just like, ah! So that's me.
Yep. I'm Michaela. This is on my YouTube channel. I have a book blog that you might see this on as well. I'm excited to get a new K-pop album soon. It's my brother's birthday today, so I'm going to be going to dinner later. That's all I got.
I'm Taylor. I'm really excited because this is my book selection, and someone besides me and Michaela read it. She didn't like it, but we'll get to that. I just went with some normal Lapsang Souchong tea for me, so I'm ready for action. Although it's already half gone, so we'll see how that winds up.
There we go. For today, we read The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. For those of you who haven't read the book, I'll read the Goodreads description of it so that you can get an idea of what it's about. And then we're going to give spoiler-free reviews so that you know whether you should read it or not before we get into the specifics. So, first the Goodreads description. The strange and wonderful tale of man's experience on Mars, filled with intense images and astonishing visions, now part of the Voyager Classics collection, The Martian Chronicles tells the story of humanity's repeated attempts to colonize the Red Planet. The first men were few. Most succumbed to a disease they called the Great Loneliness. When they saw their home planet dwindle to the size of a fist, they felt they had never been born. Those few that survived found no welcome on Mars. The shape-changing Martians thought they were native lunatics and duly locked them up. But more rockets arrived from Earth and more, piercing the hallucinations projected by the Martians. People brought their old prejudices with them, and their desires and fantasies tainted dreams. These were soon inhabited by the strange native beings with their caged flowers and birds of flame. And then I guess we'll say what we thought of it. Gretchen?
So, yep, I found this, okay, if you are going into this book going, alright, sci-fi, stop right now, just stop. It's very literary sci-fi, so if you're going in and being like, explosions, fighting the alien, no, go away.
Go away, don't go away.
I think you're... Before we even started, I was talking to Michaela how I think this book is more fantasy than anything, but I would still not say this is not sci-fi.
I mean, it is, but I think, like, the general, like, idea of genre fiction sci-fi is, like, you know, big space battles and, like, cool tech. I don't know, from what, like, the kind of sci-fi that I read and the people around me read, like, that's, when I hear sci-fi, that's what I think of. Maybe I watched too much Star Trek as a kid, I don't know. But there's that. Basically, my point was, I was really bored. It was very, like, we screwed up, and we gotta save the planet, and, like, the third time I was told that we can't even go to another planet without destroying it, I was like, okay, done with the eco message, can we not now? It was very well done. I really liked how all the stories fit together. That was amazingly well done, especially because if you read the foreword in my book, he said he hadn't planned to make this book. He just kind of wrote a bunch of these and then kind of filled it in later. And so that was amazing. But it was, I just was bored.
Understandable. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I mean, yeah, it's not stuff exploding all of the time science fiction, but I'm not a big fan of stuff exploding all of the time science fiction. I'm very much more a fan of we're just going to have a day in the life in the future. That'd be great. And that's sort of more along the lines of what this is, although incredibly depressing.
Yes.
So it was good. I say read it. And it's short, so you're fine.
Yeah. So Gretchen, I think your issue here is that you went into sci-fi thinking Star Trek when the first stories in this were written in 1946.
Mm.
No, I didn't go into it thinking Star Trek. I did read the back of the book and the preface and the foreword. I knew what he was trying to do from the get-go.
What I'm saying is, sci-fi was a very different beast, and this fits very much into that vein. And I actually like this is a very, kind of character-driven. Each story focuses very heavily on the individuals within it. So, I like that. Just in general, I love this book so much because one, I really love Bradbury, but his writing is beautiful. There were a couple stories in here I was iffy on, but that did not really change my overall adoration of the thing. It was sad. It was occasionally funny. It was just really, it was good. Good book right there.
Right. Okie dokie. So we are now going to go into the section of this where we talk about stuff in detail. So if you have not read the book and you want to read the book, you should go away and come back once you've read it. If you don't care about being spoiled or you have already read the book, then by all means stay and enjoy and leave comments adding your own opinions about stuff. There also might be swearing, because it happens. We're adults here, I think we should start with our favorite parts.
I did, despite my earlier derogatory comments, I did enjoy a couple of the stories, and I'll tell why I didn't enjoy some of the other ones later. But I liked the one where he built the House of Usher. That was great.
All of the English nerds were like, woo!
Yeah, I had an English nerd moment, and it just, came out of left field for me. Because, we've been doing, a lot of, the natural order of things and, with the technology, and all of a sudden there was, this really crazy blend of... I mean, I didn't... Okay, I'm iffy on half that story as well, but I like the concept of, building the House of Usher and killing all of the people and replacing them with robots.
Mm.
I enjoyed that part. I did read this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I did have other parts, Taylor. I am not a complete lost cause, but that's the one that sticks out to me right now.
Nothing was going to be said.
I can hear you from here.
Nothing was honestly going to be said.
I guess I'll go. I'll say that my favorite story was also the story that I had read previously, although I didn't know that it was a part of this in, I think, my sophomore year in high school. I had read the short story about the house that keeps running after the nuclear war on its own as just a standalone story, and I still think that that one stands up as one of the best complete works. It's poignant and beautiful, and you feel bad for a house, which isn't a person and doesn't have emotions, but you still can, you just have pain, so much pain for this building. And, it was good. It was good. It was my favorite.
Yeah. I think I would have to go with what was it? The second expedition, but the story wasn't called that. Um, when the Martians actually kept sending these Earthmen along to the next house until they were eventually institutionalized.
That was great.
And it ends with these Martians thinking that it was just this infectious, I guess, delusion, to the point where the Martian just, like, shoots himself, thinking it had been transmitted to himself, because he could just touch and see and feel, like, taste this ship, and he never once considers that it could be anything but that. And I think that was just probably my favorite part of this book. Just because you see that coming 2 pages before, and you're like, oh god, oh, this is bad. That being said, I also like Night, where you have the Earth guy driving off to his party on some highway, and then he passes this Martian going the opposite direction on their highway, and they're like thousands of years apart. And they have this conversation.
Yeah.
That was, that was also a very good scene. So those are my favorites.
Okay. Least favorite part / rants?
I will just say that I think one of my biggest book turnoffs is when I feel like I'm being preached at. And a couple of these stories really made me feel like I was being preached at by someone who was like, government is bad, and, we destroy our planet, and blah, 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 blah. And I was just sitting there, and I was just like, oh, stop. This is, like, the 5th story where you, like, literally, not even that the story was about it, but, like, one of the characters or, like, the narrator came out and said it. And I was just like, oh, stop. Stop. So I think that will automatically make me hate something when I feel like I'm being told the moral of the story multiple times. So that was probably actually my biggest issue with this book, was that it happened enough times, and I was just like, I can't anymore.
Understandable. I would say that there were a handful of times where I felt like there were elements that he introduced in stories that either, like, went away and didn't happen again, or were, like, solely in one story and could have been implemented in another one, that I wish had sort of stayed continuous throughout the entire book. But then again, I realized that it's a glorified collection of short stories on a theme rather than a coherent novel, so I'm okay with it. But that was, like, every once in a while I was like, it would be cool here if they still had that thing where they could, like, project images. That'd be cool. But that was...
Those that have to be alive for that, because although I suppose in a sense the aliens we see at the beginning are very different from the ones we see at near the end when they just have those sand ships.
Yeah.
That was just something very different. When you're talking about those kind of elements, is one of the things you have in mind Usher the Second?
Yeah.
Having all of this censorship and burning the novels, and this is 3/4 of the way through the book, and I never feel like we had had that impression before.
Yeah, we had never gotten an impression that these people were...
That's like something we see in his books, but that's never been addressed in this collection, so it just seemed very bizarre, and that's one of the reasons why I thought that story was so out of place.
It made that book seem like a Fahrenheit 451 spin-off.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't even feel like that... I don't even see why that story was set on Mars in the first place.
Yeah, no, I definitely... That's why when I said that, I was like, I like the concept, because that was definitely one of the preachier stories, and probably half the problem I had with that was that all of a sudden they were like, yeah, government did the thing, and I was like,
yeah.
Eh?
As for the other parts that you definitely as a whole might get to be preachy, like Michaela, because I saw this was like over 10 years, started being written right after World War II, that seemed like a very reasonable sentiment. to have in your stories.
Hmm.
And it showed up a lot. I guess it just seemed very strange because he needed to have that narrative and criticism in each of these stories because they were all separate. So
Yeah.
it's something I noticed, but I didn't really worry about. Lastly, I would like to talk about one story we haven't really addressed, which was the Silent Towns. That's like everyone's already left, and you have that one guy. And for the first 10 pages, it's him just trying to connect with that random person on the phone. And
Right.
that's a really interesting part of the story, but then it turned around and like, oh, she's this gross, overeating, really clingy woman, and so he runs away and, you know, lives out the rest of his life in a rocking chair in the middle of the freeway, and I'm like, well, this was just a stupid story. That's like
yeah.
the second woman we saw, and like the first one was an alien. So, it just seemed like a very...
I feel like that story was there just to set up the line in the last story where when the captain comes back and he's like, "You're the only other person I found except for one guy who's in a rocking chair and he was fine."
He was doing pretty okay. It just seemed so, like, pointless compared to all the others. It was just, you know, a cheap gag at the expense of this, like, disgusting woman. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this pales in comparison to the heartbreak I have felt throughout this novel.
Yeah.
So, I could have done without that story.
I feel like that one was supposed to be like a comic relief story, but it kind of fell flat.
Yeah,
It wasn't very funny. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really need a comic relief story. It wasn't like that was going to change my impression of the book.
Yeah.
Like, well, good thing that one was funny, otherwise I would have just offed myself.
Good thing that one was funny. Okay. What was I about to say? Favorite characters.
Favorite character? Oh yes, all those reoccurring characters that we see so much to remember.
I don't need them to be reoccurring to have favorite ones, because I do have favorite ones.
Okay, so
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I can think of one off the top of my head. And I guess this is kind of a favorite story. Not really though, because again, it was one of the ones that kind of hit me over the head. But like, when the priest went in and they were like, God is this orb, and we have to build a church for these alien gods. And then the orbs come in and they're like, sorry, we found God elsewhere, like, we don't need this building. I don't know. I like that story. I don't even know why. I am not religious in any way, but I don't know. I liked the orbs. They were just like,
called?
I don't know. My copy.
That story.
My
Like,
copy had.
It was in my edition.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
no.
I'm sorry. My edition had to go back to the library like a week ago, so.
Michaela, did you read that one?
I don't think so, but mine was like a super old original version. I don't know if there was like a released version later where he added stories.
I think mine is 82.
Hmm.
I mean, mine was not a new copy. For sure. I mean, it was. I don't know.
Oh no.
I didn't read that story.
Well, there's more for you to read, Taylor. You're welcome.
I guess so.
Was it like a 50th anniversary edition, maybe, where he added a story that wasn't there?
Oh. Hold on. Wait, I found my edition on Goodreads. I can figure this out. You guys go ahead and do your favorite characters.
Okay.
Well,
My copy is an age recommendation of 14 and up.
What?
Rated 14 plus. Okay, I have two favorite characters. One of which is the captain of the third expedition, who was the one where they landed and were like, why does this look like Ohio? What is happening? And then totally all got murdered. He was so sassy and, like, actually trying to survive. He was like, half of us are going to stay in this ship. You do not leave this ship. Half of us are going to go outside and see what's happening.
And then he totally predicted what happened.
He totally predicted what happened.
But
And
dude,
I was so mad. He was the best. And then he died. And then I was sad.
You know what? That was a really good story.
It was good. I liked it. I also like that he was like, how come everybody is, like, totally fine with this looking like my hometown? Like, that's weird. And then my second favorite character was the guy that built his wife and kids as robots after they died, because it hurt me so much for him to, like, create these perfect androids that were thinking and feeling and living, but totally self-aware of the fact that they were androids and just okay with that. It was just he was super sweet and I felt bad, and he died too. Worst.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, okay, my heart gave out. So what are you gonna do? He was
Just
old.
to interrupt briefly, my copy, it doesn't say that it's anything special, but it was published in 2001.
Okay, that would be, you know, not quite a 50th anniversary, but like 20
Yeah, I mean,
more
I'm
recent.
staring at the cover, and the cover doesn't say, like, anniversary edition, blah, blah, blah.
Weird.
But
It's so weird. I'll figure that out.
Does it come after an anniversary edition? Because even still, then all of the things afterwards would include the stuff that came.
I can't tell that. This Goodreads editions thing is not
helpful.
Yeah, not user-friendly.
Hold on. I think the first printing was actually 1950. So
It was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It probably
So
came after the 50th anniversary edition.
Yeah. Okay. That would explain things.
Yep.
I think I like the captain of the 4th expedition most. The one who actually survives and then apparently gets sent off to Jupiter for like 20 years.
And then comes back and it's like, what is happening?
Everyone's dead again. Alright, guys,
Let's go home.
So, you know, he's so respectful for the culture and he just kind of does his thing. He's like, well, this needs to happen, so I guess I'm going to go do that.
Yep. He was pretty cool. I'm glad he didn't die, as far as we know. I guess rather than specific main characters, because there aren't really any, are there any other stories that we want to talk about?
Which expedition was it where that one guy totally went native?
4th.
That was the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the 4th. Okay. I didn't remember what happened to the captain. I just remember the dude who was just like, yeah, I'm going.
That was the captain I was just talking about.
Yeah. I couldn't remember which was which. Because, like, it took me forever to realize the first story was actually the first expedition. Like, that was actually a legit thing. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that took a while to figure out.
See, I got it in the second one where they mentioned that What's-His-Face and What's-His-Face never called or whatever.
You know, that's when I got it too, but
That
like,
was, Yilla.
Yeah.
That they went missing. You know, I think I was actually, come to think about it, under the impression that Rocket Summer was a failed launch. And that it crashed on Earth. Because they recognized it as a rocket ship, whereas the Martians were always like, oh my god, it's a hallucination. These people are crazy.
Is that the one where they're in Ohio?
Yeah.
The problem with that being is that at the end they still totally all get murdered.
No. I mean, Rocket Summer I'm talking about.
The first
very
one?
first story, Rocket
Okay.
Summer, January 1999, I think was a thing.
Well, I thought that was a description of what it felt like for the rocket to take off. That's how I mean, isn't that one like super short?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just talking about how I think are you okay, now I'm confused. Not Rocket Summer, and the one after that where the alien lady totally feels like she's gonna have sex with the dude.
I think you're paraphrasing right there.
Yeah, no, but that's totally a thing. And that was the one that I had mentioned. Taylor brought in Rocket Summer.
Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, I just reread Rocket Summer, and that's it taking off. So Gretchen, you were correct.
I was like, did it crash? Because I totally missed a big part of that story.
No, I just misread it the first time, I think. Actually, could we talk a moment about Yilla, which is it's the only story from an alien perspective, and it's also the only time we really see a, female character doing anything.
Yeah, that was... Wait, whoa, hold on. I just thought of another thing I wanted to say.
Go for it.
Okay. Can we talk about how when they were like, yeah, and all the men are coming, and you know what kind of women follow them? And I know the book is time-stamped, 1950, but I was just like, whoa, dude.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Yilla, because I don't think that's Bradbury being sexist.
I didn't like Yilla so much because her whole thing was just like, I hate my husband, and here's this dude, and I just totally want to, sleep with him because he's gonna save me.
I'm totally paraphrasing that. I do not remember, I totally want to sleep with this guy. I'm dreaming about coming from Earth. Sure he's coming from Earth, but I'd, totally bone him.
Well, she talked about kissing him, and for the 1950s, that is, totally doing it.
That is basically boning.
I still think you're misconstruing the point of this. Because I took it a lot more how it's she has an opinion, she's I want to talk to these people, I want to know these new people, and the men are no, I'm just gonna go shoot them. And this entire book is about men being destructive and stupid.
Yeah.
And all the women are just, kind of being forced to follow, literally and figuratively.
Okay, I'll take that for the later books, or the later stories. I can see that. I don't know. The whole thing I got from Yilla was that she was desperate for the guy to save her and take her somewhere where she would be loved.
Yeah.
And her husband was like, "Nah, I'm gonna shoot him."
Which I think that story is a parallel of all midlife crisis stories of women, and that their husbands get so ingrained, especially in the 1950s, get so ingrained in work and being the breadwinner and doing that they stop caring about their wives. They're too tired or whatever, and their wives are left at home doing nothing all day, and they just want to feel appreciated. So the idea of somebody coming from another planet and taking them somewhere exciting to do stuff, possibly sexy times, is less an idea of a woman just being like, I totally need to have sex right now, and more of, nobody appreciates me anymore. He doesn't even talk to me, he just sits in his room all day. Terrible.
And that's perfectly true, but do we not see something significant in the fact that the very first character we see in this entire novel is that woman, and then they're basically eliminated from the entire narrative?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and after that, they ain't nobody.
Exactly. So do we not see some significance in that?
Yeah.
No. Smothering, pushed to the side, duct tape over the mouth.
Yep.
I just saw that they were absent, which for most of the book makes sense because for a good half of it, it's still the, explorers. And especially for the time period, there wouldn't have been any women. So, I mean, I just saw it as a function of like how his society operates and how he saw that. I didn't like read anything deeper into it until the women start showing up in the second half. Ish.
Which was one ugly woman that the guy didn't want, and a robot woman.
Well, no, there was a story about the two wives who were going to be with their husbands.
Wait, okay.
What?
I don't remember that one either.
What did I read?
I'm saying that you got the post 50th anniversary edition with bonus stories.
There was a whole story about there were these two women who, like, one of them was married and one of them was engaged, and like the engaged woman wasn't sure she actually wanted to follow her fiance to Mars. And oh my god, guys, you missed like some of the best stuff.
Clearly, gosh. Damn. Gosh.
I think
Well,
our only change from random dudes exploring / living on the planet was the one story about the black people going.
yeah.
That's the only change in, aside from the alien woman. All of the other ones were like white male dudes that were there.
Although I think in, what was it? Night Meeting, the guy had a vaguely ethnic name. And I say vaguely ethnic in full awareness of how, vaguely racist that is. I just honestly cannot remember what his name was. But I think it had an accent on it.
He's possibly Hispanic. We don't know. Juan goes.
Yes, he was Hispanic.
Okay, so there's one Hispanic guy, one story from the point of view of a redneck about black people, and then one story from a woman.
Yeah.
Two.
And that-
If you read my edition.
Two if you read Gretchen's edition.
Which apparently is a good edition. It's got two stories we did not have, and both have been worth mentioning. In
Yeah.
a positive way, so there you have it.
Okay, should we discuss Mars as a setting? Is it more of a setting or a plot device for these stories?
I think it's a setting in Yilla. I think it's a very interesting setting in Yilla.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. It seemed like since they were like moving around the planet as the book went along, and also like there were these big time jumps at some point. I just like it seemed as more of a plot device because it seemed to change depending on what the story needed. Do you know what I mean?
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohio. On multiple occasions.
Just being
Really Ohio.
middle of nowhere Ohio. Basically Mars.
Needless to say, Bradbury was born in
Middle of nowhere Ohio?
middle of nowhere, Ohio. And you have Captain in Expedition 3 talking about being born in, I think the 30s, in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. So
Yep.
it's a very
Yes.
autobiographical description of a town.
Yep. I would agree that sometimes it's used as an interesting setting, and other times it's used as a plot device as I feel like when he was formulating some of these stories, the original ones where they were like, what would happen if we tried to populate Mars? Mars was less of a setting and more of, Mars is a place that we want to go and we need to get people there to colonize it. What would happen? And this is how Mars would react, and this is how the people would react.
I mean, I found it fascinating how the stories could go really far between the setting being like the integral part of the story, and then like how in some points it was like it doesn't even matter that this story is necessarily taking place on Mars. This could very well have been transposed onto like frontier America.
And the house story didn't take place on Mars. The house story took place on Earth.
Did it? See, I don't even like. I didn't even like.
The house story takes place on Earth after the nuclear war. It's the only one that doesn't take place on Mars.
Well, no. it isn't the only one, but
I was
after...
gonna say, not my edition.
Well,
Wait, Gretchen, you didn't have a soft brain will fall?
Wait,
no,
you cut
she's
out.
There
saying
will come
that
soft
there
brain.
are other stories. The redneck story also takes place on Earth, and the first story with the rocket taking off also takes place on Earth. But there are a handful. That one has nothing to do with Mars. The house one has nothing to do with Mars. It's
True.
just like explaining what Earth is like at the time.
Mm-hmm. Answer? Not great.
Answer: that dog died. Poor dog. Poor dog. Writing style, anything else?
I will say, for all of my like not great comments, it was fantastically written. I will give him that. It was, for what he was trying to do and how he was weaving the stories together. I was just sitting there and I was like, yes. Yes. You know how words.
You know how words work.
Yeah.
He
So
knew
it
how to...
was, yeah. No arguments there for me on that. It was very well done and very well put together. Especially considering that it's a bunch of short stories, like I said, put together into like this one story, this one novel. I mean, in its own way. There's a technical term that just escaped my brain the second I went to say it.
Novella? Novelette?
I don't know.
That's why I said a glorified collection of short stories.
Yeah.
Because it's more than that, but that's what it is as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. The writing was really strong, but I always expect that from Bradbury. Bradbury's well written.
He
It's
does
good.
not support.
Yeah.
So I could, I've already said it was beautifully written. I could sit here for like 5 minutes and flail my arms, but, we're on a deadline.
It was beautifully written, flails arms constantly.
No, please, Taylor, go. Give us a show. I want an interpretive dance about how bad you want to flail.
No, I just said flail my arms. No time for, like, coherent action. It would just be pure fangirling.
I mean, Michaela's giving us a show. I don't know why you can't.
I was watching. I was admiring that.
You're welcome. Is there anything else that people thought about that they wanted to talk about?
Read my edition next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hunt it down.
Yeah.
Because I would be very, very interested to hear, like, especially like about like the women in the story and what people thought, having like seeing the short stories that are in mine that apparently don't show up in yours.
Yeah.
And what it means that they're not in the first edition but are in the second one.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably just written later.
It's either that or he's responding to something else that happened later.
Sure. And I will say that of all the Bradburys I have read, they are always male-dominated. So that is...
Yeah, I mean he's publishing in that time period. It's not surprising.
I don't consider it him being sexist. I think that's just, what he did. He was a very, very liberal man.
Because, I mean, he had female characters that were very strong and interesting female characters. It doesn't need to be an even balance of male and female as long as you're not having a huge domination of males and then really stupid, vapid women that can't do anything.
Yeah,
Which is why Silent Town seems so out of place.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was important that, well, for me anyways, like, you get that one comment about, when men go out exploring and the kind of women that always follow them, but now you never see those women. Like, it's a throwaway comment that someone makes, but then, like, he shows that the women who are following their husbands, who are going over there, are just as strong as the men for going. Which, I mean, I get in that one short story that you guys didn't get to read, so that might sound like it's coming from, like, way over the mountain, but that's what I got.
No, that is interesting, and, you know, even that fact alone is, you know, a very interesting one, even without the story to accompany it.
Yeah, I liked the story that talked about the waves of people who went, because
Yeah.
I mean, it talks about how it starts with the explorers, but then it went to people. It was like, okay, and then it was people who were running away from something, and then it was people who had nothing and wanted to make something of themselves, and it was just talking about who came and why they came and when, sort of.
You're the rich bastards.
Those rich bastards.
Force their politics and censorship on everyone else.
Yeah. And then it ended with a family running away from a nuclear war to survive, being the last of the people to go to Mars.
Intending to rebuild the civilization with, what, 3 women?
Yeah, they were like, we have 4 boys and 3 women, and the mom's like, well, that's gonna be difficult later. Oh no.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny line, but it's also like, so, Michaela, anthropology talking, how quick would inbreeding become a problem? Immediately?
No. Realistically, it's only a problem with siblings. So,
But
cousins are fine. First cousins are fine.
Yeah.
It's just a societal thing. So, cousins are fine. There's enough genetic difference.
Alright, so there you have it. Civilization might actually survive in the Martian Chronicles.
As long as all of those kids are able to have multiple kids of both genders. Because if, like, one of them has a weird uterus that doesn't allow them to have kids, then one of them has to marry their siblings, and then now you have inbreeding.
Okay, well, there you have it.
Yep.
Gretchen did not need to have that conversation.
Anthropology, go! Anthropology, go!
No, I mean, fascinating. I just didn't expect it went so fast.
You didn't expect me to have the answer to that?
Oh, no, I know you well enough to know that you had the answer to that, like, right out of your back pocket.
Yep, we went there. Here you go, folks.
And so we don't end the episode quite on that. I guess we can say go read every other Bradbury ever written.
Yeah, Bradbury's pretty solid.
Like, if you know me, get in touch. I have literally 4 identical copies of Dandelion Wine that I can just, you know, hand out.
You are the Dandelion Wine Library.
It's one of my favorites, you know. Something Wicked, another great option.
Yep.
We attached a music video to Michaela's blog post. I think so. That would be worth checking out if you're of an appropriate age.
It's rated T for teen for language, if you're wondering what the appropriate age is.
You know, maybe like a little beyond 13. You know, parents watching with their kids, well, you know.
14 plus.
Yeah.
Like the book, 14 plus.
Not like the book, 14 plus. Very different reasons.
Yeah. Okay, do we want to talk about our stuff and next week? Next week first? Next week we're back to my pick, which is this one right here. John dies at the end. Taylor's holding it up. Hold on, I can click on his face and make it large. Oh, look at Paul Giamatti's face. It's right there on that book.
That's exactly what I was going to mention. He was Paul Giamatti in it, being Paul Giamatti. Not literally being Paul Giamatti, but he's great.
Best.
Also, I've got 100 pages left of this book, so it's great.
Yes, it's. I've read it before, and I wanted to read it again, and I'm so excited to read it again. It's like humor, horror, thriller, best.
Yeah, it is like genuinely creepy at times, and not just silly and you know weird. It's just dark and terrifying even, and Gretchen's gonna hate it. I know this.
I might not be able to come next week, so, there's that.
But you should still read it, because I'm telling you to, because it's great.
Yes.
Well, I'm at the mercy of library requests, so that's another thing.
We'll wait.
I'm sorry, I'll get it from London. Hello, 6-hour time difference.
Taylor and I will just be like, we'll do whatever you want to do. We'll go.
So you're going to be reading this, Gretchen?
Okie dokie.
Apart from that, I think that's everything.
Yeah, just shouting out our stuff.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say this at the beginning. I'm from My Life as a Notebook, the technically YA book blog. This entire summer, it's basically been us.
Mm-hmm.
So, no shame. So that's adkwriter15.wordpress.com. Basically, every way to find me is adkwriter15. It's my Tumblr, my Twitter. My Goodreads is my name. My Facebook is My Life as a Notebook. And if you like YA, the Frostbite Indiegogo opened today. I've already donated and supported. Go.
Frostbite.
You might want to explain that.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's, earlier this year, they released the Vampire Academy movie based on the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead.
Mm-hmm.
The movie was fantastic and one of the most faithful book-to-movie adaptations I've ever seen.
Wow.
But it was produced by a smaller studio compared to like Divergent and The Hunger Games, so it didn't get much play, and they didn't want to make the sequel, and the fans are making it happen.
Okay.
So
if you read the Vampire Academy series, yes. Go Indiegogo kickstart that.
Go Indiegogo.
Go. Oh no. Now I'm thinking about Inspector Gadget. I missed that.
Inspector Gadget.
See, I went with Speed Racer. Point being, that's a thing you can go support for reasons.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the fangirl has sat down now. I'm done.
Okay. Michaela again. You can find me at thepiedpipercalls.wordpress.com, which is my book blog, which hopefully will have a review up Friday, and I will have K-pop stuff on Sundays, which is fun. My Tumblr is ravensinthenight.sky.tumblr.com, which is basically just gifs of cute Korean boys being adorable, / my fangirling over new Korean music. My Twitter is at PiedPiperCalls, which I've been trying to use more of late and be more active on. So you should go follow that and talk to me. And yeah, that's it for me.
I have my Twitter, Greenwood, and I can say that it has been said by people other than me that it was, quote, pretty great.
I would concur with that. He has good tweets. He's a good tweeter.
Yeah, so
with his twits.
Someone other than me has said that. So there you have it.
There you go. All of the links are in the description of the YouTube video. Yep, that's it. That's all I got. That's all, folks. Come back hopefully next week, possibly the week after, because whatever. For John Dies at the End, which is great. Read it.
Yeah.
Read it. Annyeong.
Annyeong.